For decades, the 1,340-kilometer border between Finland and Russia was a quiet, managed boundary. Today it's an active, multi-domain frontline. Cross-border traffic has collapsed. A frontier that recently saw 12 million annual crossings now processes almost zero. Major southern checkpoints like Valima crossing are completely shuttered. Measure this closure buries the historical policy known as Finlandization. Born from the need to survive the Winter War against the Soviet Union, the doctrine required Finland to strictly anticipate Russian reactions to maintain a pragmatic, neutral coexistence. Russia's 2022 full-scale invasion of Ukraine shattered the logic of that arrangement. Proximity to a revisionist neighbor suddenly required absolute collective defense. The era of pragmatic cooperation is dead. Finland has experienced an ontological rupture, discarding its identity as a neutral bridge builder to become the vanguard of NATO deterrence. Finland's historic accession into NATO immediately doubled the alliance's contiguous land border with Russia. This creates a strategic paradox. Russia views Finland as a hostile state, but any direct kinetic attack would instantly trigger Article 5, NATO's mutual defense clause, which guarantees an alliance-wide military response. Phase 1 of Russia's asymmetric playbook is demographic weaponization, a tactic that is often referred to by security experts as instrumentalized migration. This tactical map shows the eastern border checkpoints targeted in late 2023. Russian intelligence directed migrants precisely towards Salla, Raja-Jooseppi and Valima. Zooming into a 5-kilometer cross-section of the border reveals a tactical loophole. Migrants use bicycles to bypass strict pedestrian crossing bans. This is a state-sponsored hybrid operation. Russian border guards operating under the Federal Security Service or FSB supply the vehicles and permit the undocumented transit. This exploits the international principle of non-refoulement, the legal obligation forbidding a state from returning asylum seekers to a country where they face likely danger. It forces Finland into a deliberate dilemma between national security and human rights obligations. The strategic goal extends beyond border penetration. By overwhelming processing infrastructure, Russia tests Finnish societal resilience and intentionally sows international political division. Phase 2 shifts the theater of operations from the frozen land border to the dark depths of the Baltic Sea. On Christmas Day 2024, an Estonian-Finnish electricity cable was damaged by a dragging anchor. The suspect vessel belonged to Russia's Shadow Fleet. These aging ships sail under the flags of convenience to evade sanctions and act as a deniable hybrid aggressor. Looking at this map of the Baltic region, the airspace threat becomes visible. Persistent GPS jamming campaigns launched directly from Russian territory. This electromagnetic sabotage blinds civilian aviation and maritime logistics, forcing flight cancellations and creating severe navigation hazards across the region. Through infrastructure and electronic attacks, Russia inflicts severe economic disruption and projects power across borders without even firing a single bullet. Phase 3 moves away from the immediate hybrid harassment in the south and focuses on the long-term conventional threat gathering in the Arctic high north. While Russia's primary forces are heavily bogged down in Ukraine, they are simultaneously executing a long-term military reconstitution on the Fennoscandian front. This tactical map tracks a specific troop buildup. Russia is expanding garrisons in Petrozavodsk and establishing new artillery brigades in Kandalashka. This mobilization protects a primary strategic asset, the Kola Peninsula, home to Russia's largest concentration of nuclear weapons. The assets stationed in this northern stronghold form the backbone of Russia's strategic deterrence. Hybrid tactics provide undeniable, immediate pressure. This massive conventional reconstitution is Russia's undeniable long-term strategy to counterbalance NATO's newly doubled land border. In response, Finland activated its total defense doctrine. The state moved from a passive observation to actively engineering a fortress architecture. The government enacted rapid legislative shifts, including the Border Security Act, to legally neutralize the asylum loophole exploited by the FSB. The physical manifestation of this defensive posture is accelerated construction of a permanent, heavily fortified border fence. This schematic breaks down the engineering of the 200-kilometer barrier. It integrates 3-meter-high fencing with drone docks, radar overlays and advanced sensor nets. While the permanent structures are finished, temporary NATO razor wire barriers are deployed to fill the immediate gaps. The border is no longer a site of managed interaction, but a permanent multi-domain infrastructure of deterrence. Finland's final step in total decoupling from Russia involves agreeing to host NATO forward land forces, multinational combat-ready troops deployed to the alliance's eastern flank. Lawmakers are pushing to remove historic bans on nuclear transit, aligning Finland completely with the highest levels of Western strategic capability. The domestic fallout is severe. Eastern Finnish communities must completely reinvent their economies, pivoting away from Russian trade and towards defense and green tech manufacturing. For geopolitical risk managers, the strategic reality is clear. The eastern border is now a permanent hard limit, a new iron curtain with zero prospect of reopening in the medium term. Finland successfully defended its sovereignty and agency against a relentless hybrid assault, but the cost is a geography that can no longer be bridged, only guarded.